10 months or so.
Yeah.
Been doing it a while.
It's been wonderful.
Weekly. So.
A weekly show every week?
Yeah.
Well, we tried. Lately, May was just like crazy because I'm a teacher as well, and it just gets nuts around that time. And I think also Eli was taking his finals too. So
Finals and starting a new job. So
right.
Yeah. So we aim for weekly, but we get together and talk. That's
yeah.
So.
How did you guys meet?
Okay, so this is a great story. So I play in a band called Spenny Baby, and it's like a disco sort of band. And I just got done with a bad gig, and there was a rumor. There was somebody who reached out to me, and it was like, you need to go to this guy's house. He's doing like a special event called the Tree House, and you need to go play at it, right? And I'm like, sure, why not? So I reached out to you like directly, and I'm like, hey, can I come play at your house? And you were like, yeah. And so
sure, absolutely.
I just went over there not expecting anything. And it was like such a great time. There was like a really receptive crowd. And yeah, how was it for you? Or am I wrong? You can correct me if I'm wrong.
So the first time I remember meeting Victor was at a Spenny Baby show, surprisingly enough, because that's all he does. So it was at the Growl, and it was like, I was kind of like just exploring the Arlington music scene for the first time, not for the first time, but just getting into it. And so at the Growl, Spenny Baby was playing, and I'm there with my roommate, and we just started doing open mics at the house because there weren't really any house shows around Arlington, so we kind of started that up. And so we were watching Spenny Baby play, and I was like, man, if I could have Spenny Baby play at my house, then I've made it. That's Arlington gold to me. And anyway, they played my favorite song of all time. I think Victor can still probably hear the screams of my Division Brewing induced excitement about just hearing my favorite song and stuff. So it was a beautiful experience. And then just meeting Victor and the explosion of the scene in my mind after that, just by all his connections and all the people that we've met since then and stuff. And then we've got a third member, actually, who's not able to be here today. His name is Eli. He is a UTA student studying architecture, and he met up with us because we have the football team, which is a creative collective for UTA students and Arlington artists. And so he just started coming to meetings, and he was like, guys, I want to throw a rave. He just really wanted to throw a rave. And so Treehouse, which was the house show that Victor had mentioned, turned into basically a full-scale monthly concert series. And Eli has taken that over and is throwing raves with it and is accomplishing his dreams
really well.
But yeah, so we've all kind of developed together over the past year, and it's been a great time.
It's been fantastic.
They just had a Treehouse recently, right?
Yes.
I was watching it on Instagram. I actually saw you, I believe. I
That's
was
awesome.
like, hey, I know that guy. It looked incredible. I did not. I was like in bed at that point, so I was like, well, I'm not coming out this time, but next time.
Yeah, no, they're fun. They're a blast.
It looked like everyone was having the time of their life, and I was like, I cannot believe that, because I grew up here. Like, I grew up in Arlington, and nothing like this really ever was a thing in Arlington. When I was like into the punk rock scene when I was a kid, but I had to go to like Fort Worth.
Really?
I had to go to Dallas. Like, there was not really an Arlington scene per se. So like watching this evolve has been like rad.
It's been wonderful for sure. It's music scene focused. I'm just so grateful. Yesterday I went to that Prince show for his birthday, and I just saw so many people in the community. And it's always good coming in there and everybody's just super sweet. And the musicians were pretty good too, so I was like, this is getting really good.
Yeah, we have to give a shout out to Truth Vinyl. Truth Vinyl.
Ding!
Yeah, ding. We've got a ding because we've mentioned them so often on the show.
Us too.
Yeah.
Real-
Yeah.
oh,
We
yeah.
go.
We try to hit the open mic on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's where I
that's
saw
where I
you
saw you
guys.
guys.
Yeah, that's where we met.
But yeah, no, they're phenomenal. They provide such a great space for people to come together and meet each other, and I feel like they've done so much for the scene. It's just immeasurable.
It's a rock.
It is a rock.
It's funny because the Growl is also one of those fundamental places, and it's great. It's a fantastic venue, but there's something a little bit more homely about Truth. Does that make any sense?
No,
Yeah.
I agree completely. I've been to shows at both, and I love going to shows at Growl and Division. Super great. I love the energy, but it does feel a little more everyone's like hugging each other like at Truth, and I've only been to like 2 shows at Truth, so like to feel that immediately, I think is a really positive thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're just such a good community center, you know. Like they've got a table outside where Rick and Carol, the owners, sit all the time with the bartenders from Hooligans across the alleyway. Like the fact that they're all such like a family there together is, you know, that's something to build around, and I think it's super important.
Yeah. Ooh.
What is a favorite pizza place for both of you guys in Arlington?
Old School Pizza and Subs is pretty great.
Yeah, we
kind of ours.
I listened to y'all's debate on this on the
still
first
having the
episode.
debate.
Yeah, apparently you got to get everybody's input on it. Man, I Old School. All right, I'm just gonna say it.
When I was poor, Nitso was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Right.
Nitso was great. Now that I'm doing okay, time to get some good taste.
Yeah, just something that won't mess up your stomach for the
Yeah.
next 2 days.
Right.
So, what are your future plans for the podcast? I know you're doing like videos too. Like, it's not just a audio podcast. Like, where are you going to go from here?
So we had a meeting at the beginning of I think we've had a few meetings where we talked about some projects that we want to do. I know I want to do like an awards show. Like I really want to do an awards show to just like highlight some local talent. And
Well,
just
that's a
give
great
them,
idea.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. And I contacted the Fort Worth Weekly, and I'm friends with Eric Giffrey, who does the Fort Worth Weekly. He's one of the editors, and try to get some information because I really just want to highlight some amazing musicians who are doing some really great work.
I've been to some of those award shows for the Fort Worth Weekly, and those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to be playing at one of them.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
I'm really
nice.
excited.
When is that?
The 23rd, I think.
Of June? Okay.
Mhm. So we'll see how
Where's
it goes.
that one going to be at?
So it's at different venues, which is some stuff I'm also stealing from the Fort Worth Weekly.
Borrowing. You can say
Yeah.
borrowing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be borrowing some of their ideas. But they have like several different venues that you just go and support the bands that have been nominated for awards.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another classic Arlington
Classic
Citizen
Arlington
Media
Citizen Media, yep.
question.
Sure.
Who is your favorite Beatle and why?
I gotta say George.
Wow.
You would say
Okay.
George.
Yeah,
Okay.
man.
You would say
The
George.
choir is
First
brilliant.
one to say George.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone else
Yeah.
is like, well, John or Paul, duh.
Oh heck no. I said heck.
Oh, heck.
Oh heck no. Yeah, no. I think John was just pompous.
John
Wow.
was pompous, but he also like
Shots
earned
fired.
it.
Yeah.
He earned that pompousness, though.
Yes, you just can't be rude like that.
Yes, he can. People like those real characters. Like I feel like that's why Deadpool. I've had this conversation. That's why Deadpool's so popular. He just says it how it is.
Well, that and like the comedic, like
Yeah, John was
So
funny.
He was funny.
He was
funny.
hilarious.
He
He was
not
very.
Ryan Reynolds
He had
funny.
wit.
Ah.
Right.
All right.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
Wait, what was your answer?
Yeah,
Oh.
what's your answer?
Oh, Paul. Easy. Paul was fantastic. He's
Paul
just
is
an
definitely the
amazing
more
musician.
like pop oriented.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you can hear that in all the songs that he wrote. You know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know they wrote
'Cause they're
them
good,
together,
yeah.
I guess, but
We know how that really works.
so
Yeah,
how
and
has the scene like evolved since you've been in it? Like, I guess specifically the music scene, but if you know about the art scene as well. I mean, because from an outsider standpoint, like I've not really been involved with either of them, but it seems like it's growing, and it seems like there's a lot more people involved in it now. Is that your experience?
One thing that I see as a huge success of the scene in the past year is that people are claiming Arlington, which
Yeah.
is really
That's
exciting.
true.
That's true.
Artists and bands are going to shows and telling people that they're from Arlington. And I heard one person describe it really well. Her name is Dolly Bills. She does a lot of pop art and stuff. She's fantastic. She said, man, my entire time going to UTA, I always wanted to go to Dallas. That was making it, was going to Dallas. But then she started going to Dallas, and she realized that it was all so competitive, and nobody was helping each other or anything like that. But then she was like, well, I could just build my home, you know? And, like, why would I go anywhere else if I can put my name on something that's new and growing and be there at the start of something new, which is really cool.
So I played at South by Southwest, and when I was there, the band that played before us were like, yeah, we're from Fort Worth, Texas, right? And then we came on, and they're like, we're from Arlington, Texas, right? And then the other band said the same thing, that they were from Fort Worth. And afterwards, they came to us, and I'm like, we live in Arlington, too. Like, it's so weird that you're, like, saying that you're from Arlington. I'm like, yeah, I am.
Because I am.
Yeah, because I am. And we've gotten some really good reactions from it. Like, you know, people I think when they hear we're from Dallas or Fort Worth, it's like, great, cool. But when I say like I'm from Arlington, I've gotten some people coming up from the crowd and telling me stories about like, you know, I lived there for a long time and I never heard anything like you guys come out. And it's like, awesome, great. It's a point of pride.
Yeah, I mean, I literally grew up here, and there was nothing like this whenever I was a kid. I mean, there was like we had house shows, you know, but like there was nothing like Treehouse. There was nothing
Well,
like
the closest thing we had really was Dream World.
Yeah, I was
But that
out
was so in and out,
fair.
So
Can you tell us about Dream
Yeah.
World?
Oh yeah, I had a
Yeah,
practice room at Dream World.
I
Is this
helped
an adult
heck?
store or
Yeah.
like a real-
No, Dream World was it was okay. So if you go down Division, it's actually almost directly across from Top of the Hill Terrace.
Yep.
The Arlington Baptist College. There is a car dealership that has taken over the building, but like in 2003 to like
it was earlier than that.
2001.
It was like 1 through 5 at the latest.
Yeah,
it
so
a
there
metal
was
venue?
like a venue, like a huge venue. Like this dude like built like a recording studio and practice rooms and
So
like
the
this
layout
huge
was like
venue.
you would walk in and there was 2 hallways. It was all the practice rooms were in there, and then behind that
It's a
was their
recording
studio,
studio.
and then behind that was the venue.
And the venue was massive.
It was very big.
Huge.
They kept getting in trouble with the city because the people who lived behind them. So okay, it was Dream World, train track, then neighborhoods.
Oh God.
So they were complaining about the noise coming from Dream World, and so even though there was a train in between them, so what they would do is I helped them do this. This was not a fun day. We were pouring sand into the walls so that it would block off the sound. And yeah, it was.
Did it
very
work?
insane. Yeah, it did.
Oh,
It
was
was
not fun.
I was playing like a shenanigan, like all of a sudden sand to start pouring out from the walls. The rock so hard, sand comes from the walls.
It was like the only place to play in Arlington back
Right.
then.
They had so many Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, it was like Battle of the Bands 950.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
But it was
We need to do one of
it
those.
was
I know,
kind
right?
of like what is happening
Yes,
now,
you should.
except it feels like what's happening now is a lot more sustainable
Right.
than what that was. Like one place that had this big like hive activity happening around it, but other than that, there wasn't a whole. I mean, it had like pretty big bands would
Cradle
come
Filth
through
came
every
through
once
there.
in a while.
Who else? There was a lot of
Yeah,
lot
there
of big
was like
bands.
I would say some like mid-level bands came through and then played in
nice.
Arlington.
That's
and in
awesome.
2003, that was like insanely unheard of.
That's really cool.
So before we talk more of the scene, I just want to give a shout out to David Conant because he's one of the guys who did Arlington Nights in the Chat and Do program, which he basically just says like every month we're going to meet up and talk about what's going on in the Arlington music scene, and that has been like a pillar, like a very strong pillar and foundation of like the music scene because that's when you go there you just network with the other musicians,
right.
and it just like when we get together we just like it just feels stronger as a group as a whole. Because what?
I met you at a Chat and Do. Yeah, it was in Pantego.
See, we've met 3 times.
Yeah, apparently.
And
Yeah.
finally stuck on that third one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, like, so you have that group, which is, I think it's very useful when you're starting out in the scene, and then you have the football team, which has been wonderful as well. And then you have these 2 great organizations, great venues, and then you have like really great bands that are coming through and just or staying there and claiming it to be their home. Like, Abel Delilah is from Dallas, but
Yeah.
they love coming here,
Yeah.
and they're just like, we're Arlington.
Yeah, and they're UTA students, which is another big thing about the growth of the scene is that UTA is finally getting involved. They're finally seeing kind of a reflection of themselves in at least the downtown area, which I think is incredibly important and something that, I mean, the city's been trying to make happen for a long time. Like, I know downtown Arlington at least. But yeah, there's a lot more exposure, but I think the biggest part of it is the family, like things around Chat and Do and musicians coming to each other's shows and stuff.
Right.
That's been probably the best part and like one of the most important parts of the growth.
I agree. Yeah. And then like Arlington Distorted also helps to just like tell people what's going on, that there is a scene, there's stuff happening.
Toot toot. That's
Yeah.
our own
Yeah,
horn.
there you go.
Hey,
How-
tell us all your social
Yeah,
media.
how can people check you out?
We're on Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah,
Sound-
at Arlington Distorted.
yeah, and also Podbean, where we're broadcasting our stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. This was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
really
for.
enjoyed it.
We'll have you back, I'm sure. If you want to come back.
Of course.
Yeah,
You're
I
welcome
want that
anytime.
jacket.
Yeah, you want that 5 timer?
I want
jacket.
that 5 timer.
Bedazzled by
Where are we
Daryl.
getting these jackets?
It's
We're working on it.
Collins
Like a
Park
jacket
Thrift.
mark.
We gotta get